Good morning, boys and girls. Here it is Wednesday, and today for Bible, we're going to do a review of our memory verse. Have you been practicing? Remember, you need to be ready to say it for Mrs. Kraft on Friday. This is part of your Bible grade. Let's say it together. Are you ready? We'll do it once just by itself, and then we'll add the motions, okay? Romans 5:8. But God demonstrated his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Do you remember what demonstrated means? He showed us. He showed us by going to the cross that he loved us so much that he was willing to die for you and for me. And we hadn't even been born yet. He knew that we would be born sinners and that we would need a Savior to take away our sins. Okay, let's do it with our motions. Are you ready? Romans 5:8. Are you ready? But God demonstrates his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That's right. Practice that verse so you know it. It's pretty easy when you put the motions with it. Well, today we're going to continue some of our favorite Bible stories. Did you like that story about Naaman? Mrs. Kraft loves that story. I think it's a great way to show that God can use anybody. Well, in today's story, he's also going to show us again that he will use anybody. Do you remember how that little servant girl was captured? Remember, Israel had not been obeying. They had moved away from worshiping the one true God. And when they get away from that, remember that rebellion, it takes them into desolation and back around to slavery. You know what? We're going to have another story about somebody who was captured. Can you think of somebody in the Bible who was captured, taken away from their family, but God used them in a mighty way? I heard somebody say Joseph. Joseph was captured. That's right. He was sold by his brothers and taken away and served Pharaoh. But God used him in the end to save his own brothers from the famine. That's not who we're talking about. Can you think about anybody else? No, not Moses. I heard somebody say it. Daniel. That's right. Daniel was a young man. Now, in our story today, he's an old man. But when he was a young teenager, the Israelites were not worshiping the one true God. They had moved away from worshiping God and worshiped idols. And the king of Babylon came and raided their town. When he raided their town, he took young teenage boys, basically, back with him that he could bring back to his own country, and he would teach them and make them slaves and make them, as we're going to see, he's going to make Daniel somebody very important. Are you ready to begin today? Just remember one thing. Daniel never, ever, ever left his love for God. He always wanted to serve the one true God, the God that you love, the God that I love. He wanted to always serve that God. Even in spite of things, Daniel never left his love for God. Okay, are you ready? Daniel was an elderly man, and there was a new king on the throne. His name was Darius. And Darius took over the government, and he appointed 120 men over 120 provinces. That's kind of like putting a mayor in charge of all the 120 towns. But he needed 3 important people, he called them presidents really, to be in charge of those 120 men. Now, you know what? To be in charge of a big group of men like that meant that you were very important. It meant that the king respected you and he listened to you and he thought you were worthy of that job. Well, Daniel was chosen. He was chosen as one of the faithful men to be a president over those 120. Well, guess what? Not only was he chosen that, but he was chosen the chief, the top person over those 3 faithful presidents. Now, I think that was very important because what do we know about Daniel? He still loved the one true God. What did they worship in Babylon? That's right, they worshiped idols. But yet, King Darius thought Daniel was very wise and very smart and very loyal. But he was also wise, smart, and loyal to the one true God that he served. King Darius recognized that Daniel had an excellent spirit. You know, if Mrs. Kraft tells you that you're doing an excellent job, does that mean you're doing a bad job? No. Does that mean you're doing a okay job? No. It means you're doing the very best job that you're able to do. That's how Daniel was. The Bible tells us that he had an excellent spirit. That means he listened and with his ears and with his heart to what God wanted him to know. Well, Daniel, whatever he did it with all his heart. Are you that way? If mom asks you to do a job, do you go, right away, mom, I'll go do it? That's right. Remember our song, Obedience is the very best way. I miss singing together. Yeah, maybe we'll have to just do some singing. But you know what? Daniel had an obedient heart. Right away, he went and did his job. Or did he grumble and say, oh, I just hate making my bed. What? I've got to take the trash out again? I just did that yesterday. But Daniel never did that. He always obeyed right away what the king asked him to do. Well, God had placed him in this position for a specific reason. Just like that little maid was put in the home of Naaman, Captain Naaman, for a special job. That's King Darius chose Daniel for a special job. Well, really, God did too, didn't he? That's right. Well, guess what happened? The two other presidents were not happy with who King Darius had chosen. Look at them. They look like they're kind of upset, maybe even mad. What does a mad face look like? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do it like that. Can you show me a mad face? That's right. They did not like Daniel. They became very jealous. Now, what does jealous mean? When you want something that somebody else has, when you want to hurt somebody because they have something that you want. Yeah, those are all bad things. Guess what they wanted? They wanted to be the chief. They wanted to be the person in charge. Not Daniel. They didn't want Daniel to be in charge of them. They wanted to be in charge of Daniel instead. Well, they possibly wondered why this old Jewish man had been chosen for this job. Why, he had come to Babylon many, many years ago when he was a teenager, but they have lived there all their life. They have served the idols and worshiped the idols. They didn't have somebody else that they worshiped. Well, they decided that they were going to make a plot or a plan against Daniel. Did you ever make a plot or a plan? Maybe you have a treehouse and you made a decision, a plan. No girls allowed. Maybe you made a plan, you put a sign on your bedroom that said, no brothers allowed or no sisters allowed. Yeah, you made a plan, didn't you? Well, they're going to make a plan against Daniel. Their heart was so filled with hatred and envy that nothing good could come from that. Did you ever get so mad at your mom maybe or a brother or a sister that you were just downright mean to them? Yeah, that never proves to be a good situation, does it, boys and girls? That's right. Envy or jealousy in our heart is really sin. Does God love sin? No, he hates sin. Can there be any sin in heaven? No, there can be no sin in heaven. Remember our verse back here? Remember what it says? That God demonstrates his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Was there ever a day when you were not a sinner? No. You were a sinner from the time you were that sweet little baby that mommy brought home from the hospital. You were a sinner when everybody went coochie, coochie, coo to your cheeks. And you're a sinner today. We are all born with that sin nature because of Adam and Eve. We've talked about that before. That's right. Well, they became so jealous and so envious of everything that they got angry. That's right. They decided that they were going to go see the king. The jealous man kept thinking, what could we do to hurt Daniel? What could we do to trap Daniel in a trap, a plan? Aha! They thought of one thing. Do you know what one thing that Daniel did all the time that they didn't do? And it's something they didn't like. Can you think of what that would be? Do you know what it is? That's right. Daniel worshiped the one true God. They didn't like it. They worshiped idols. Remember, they had their idols and their temples, and they would go and bring them food. Could those idols eat that food? No way. Could they hear their prayers? No way. Could they change what was happening in their lives? No way. Well, one of them suggested that they accuse Daniel of something concerning his religion. That's right. They knew that Daniel loved God so much that that was the most important thing to him. So the two jealous presidents, these two guys right here, got together And they decided to go to King Darius and say, King Darius, would you please make a new law? And this law is that everybody has to worship and pray to you, King Darius. And if they don't, they'll be thrown in the den of lions. What? That's right. They made this law. They wanted King Darius to make this law. Well, guess what? King Darius was a proud person. Even though he loved Daniel, well, maybe love is a strong word. Maybe he liked Daniel. He respected Daniel. They went to him and said, we think that this would be the best new law, that all the kingdoms, everybody everywhere, in all those 120 provinces, they all need to worship you and pray to you. All the presidents and all the council have decided this. Is that true? What was Daniel's job? Do you remember what his job was? He was the chief of the presidents, chief of those 3 people. Did they go and talk to Daniel about that? These guys never went and talked to Daniel. They lied. You know, when you do one sin, it causes you to do another sin and another sin. But you know what, boys and girls? King Darius was such a proud man. He loved the idea of people praying to him. He loved the idea of people noticing him. He was a person who loved to be honored and put up higher than anybody else. Do you like it when people notice you? Do you, Mrs. Crafter? I'd rather be in the back of the crowd. But some people like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm the smartest. I am just the top dog. Yeah, people do that. But guess what? King Darius was kind of like that in his heart. He wanted people to really like him. So these 2 presidents, remember they said all the presidents, but that was a lie, said that you need to write out a law and you need to sign it. So all the Medes and all the Persians know that this was the law to obey. Well, guess what? King Darius did it. There was a rule back in Babylon that said when the king signed a law, even the king could not change the law. What? That's right. So when he wrote out that law and signed his name to it, no one could change that law. Boys and girls, is this looking good for Daniel? It's not. Come back tomorrow and we'll find out what happens. Don't forget to practice your verse. Okay.